This is He Knows the Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. We keeping a foot on the what? On the next. We keeping a foot on the what? On the next, man. Let's get on to it, man. See, this is what I was talking about. When we talk about NBA fans, b-ball heads, so to speak, they don't even understand the game of basketball. Let me say it again. They don't even understand the game of basketball. Here's the cold-hearted, here's the unadulterated, and here's the cutthroat true teller fashion. Why are people getting on Paul George? Paul George revealed himself as a Scottie Pippen type. Shout outs to Clara Jenkins, man, because she said something so eloquently in the community post. Gotta give her credit, man. Because she sees what He Knows the Sport always sees. Let me say it again. She sees what He Knows the Sport always sees. Number twos are not asked to take the weight and the mantle of a number one. You have to understand what Kendrick Perkins, the bootlicker, or how should I say it with Kendrick Perkins, the quote-unquote massa Negro. Let me say it again, the quote-unquote massa Negro, the one that's bought and paid for. He's only getting on the Clippers because this is what LeBron Tars do. This is what LBJ Riders media do. They get on the Lakers. They get on the Clippers because the Clippers are anti-Lakers. That's why they get on them. Paul George is a number two. He revealed himself as such in the Indiana Pacers series against the Miami Heat. Did you guys forget that? Lest y'all forget. Unless I have to remind y'all asses. He revealed himself as such. He revealed himself as such in the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Utah Jazz series. He was never a main cog. When you put main cog responsibilities on the number two, they fail. Let me say it again. When you put main cog responsibilities on number twos, they fail. Scottie Pippen could tell you this. He failed with the Portland Trail Blazers. He failed with the Houston Rockets. He failed when MJ wasn't there. He failed. Number twos cannot be asked to do heavyweight lifting that a number one is supposed to do. So Kendrick Perkins, you want to get after somebody? Get at Kawhi Leonard. Don't get at Paul George. Kawhi Leonard is the top brass. Kawhi Leonard is the guy who is the lockdown, clamp down defender that should be on Luka Doncic's ass. So if Luka Doncic goes off, the buck stops with Kawhi Leonard. He is the Kawhi Jordan of the damn team. Has nothing to do with Paul George. This is the problem with Rudy Poo and Plum Plum Brain. Classic Dolce and Troglodyte. Ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric. He Knows the Sport was done with videos today, but I had to run it back because the bootlicker, what I would say, the coon, the Uncle Tom, the Kendrick Perkins, the one that doesn't even understand his identity, the fraud, him, that Kendrick Perkins, the one that's bought and paid for in LBJ Riders media fashion, fixated his mouth to get on Paul George. Paul George doesn't hold no responsibility. The responsibility he holds is he just needs to give his number two contribution. I'm not making no excuse for him. Paul George didn't play the way he was supposed to. He didn't play up to par. We understand that. He needs to give his number two contributions. It is what it is. But let's not sit here and act like it's Paul George's responsibility as if he's a main cog. When did beta males get the responsibility of alpha males? See, this is the problem with this Rudy Ford Plum Plum Brain generation. Classic golden troglodyte generation. Ultra fanboy with the ultra fanboy rhetoric generation. They don't even understand the definition and the distinction of the hierarchy of basketball. We have to look at the alpha in the group. We got to look at the beta in the group, and then we have to look at the sum of all parts. Paul George is a beta. You can't expect betas to do alpha heavyweight lifting. They will always fail you. Let me say it again. You can't expect betas to do alpha heavyweight lifting. They will always fail you. Now you're asking Paul George to do what Kawhi Leonard should be doing consistently. Luka Doncic going off, that's on Kawhi. More so than anything else. Because anybody that understands basketball at the highest level, the buck stops with the leader. So that's why when He Knows the Sport said in the video prior, Kawhi Leonard's coming back. Notice I didn't say Paul George. I said Kawhi Leonard. because he's going to lead the troops. He's going to start the defensive surge and the defensive intensity. He starts that because he's the leader of the team. Two bulls can't reign in one pen. Dandada is not plural, you know. Let me say it again. Two bulls can't reign in one pen. Dandada is not plural, you know. You can't expect Paul George to do what Kawhi Leonard is unctioned to do. Paul George is the beta. Kawhi Leonard is the alpha of the group. So when you come after somebody, you need to come after Kawhi Leonard. And you know what Kawhi Leonard is going to do? He's going to take it because he has the ability to take it. Paul George don't have the ability to take it. He's already proven that. So again, when you see LBJ Riders media is getting on Paul George, it's to divert you from the truth. Let me say it again. It's to divert you from the truth. They can't stand Paul George. And you know why I'm saying all of this? Because Paul George basically tell LeBron, deuces. This is where this is stemming from, man. Y'all got to know the cold-hearted. Y'all got to know the unadulterated. Y'all got to know the cutthroat, truth-telling fashion that's associated behind the intentions of a coon and an Uncle Tom like a Kendrick Perkins. A one that's a sellout, like Kevin Durant said, like a Kendrick Perkins. He's an ultimate sellout. Do you know why? Because Paul George basically told LeBron James, peace, I'm not going to play on your team. That's where that's coming from. And when you guys piece this together, you're like, oh, yeah, Hino's got a point. I see where the criticisms come from. Kendrick Perkins don't criticize just any old body. He criticizes anybody that's anti-LeBron. Let me say it again. Kendrick Perkins doesn't criticize anybody. He criticizes anybody that's anti-LeBron. Just look at the examples in front of you. Kyrie Irving, anti-LeBron. Kevin Durant, anti-LeBron. You piecing it together? Kawhi Leonard, anti-LeBron. Now Paul George, anti-LeBron because Paul George did not sign with the Lakers. Could you imagine if Paul George was with the Lakers? Would Kendrick Perkins be running his rabbit-ass mouth? Let me say it again. If Paul George was with the Lakers, would Kendrick Perkins be running his rabbit-ass mouth? No, he wouldn't. This is what you guys have to see here. This is what this is all about. It has nothing to do with basketball, but everything to do with the fact that they didn't like the fact that LeBron James got rejected by another basketball player. And now they're putting number one responsibilities on a number two. Things that make you say, Things that make you say, Let me say it again. They're putting number one responsibilities on a number two. Does that make any sense to you guys? You either have to be a brain full of mush and a brainwashed dodo head to not get to see the underlying undercurrents that's associated behind this, to not see what the real intentions are here. Paul George cannot do what's asked of him from a Kawhi Leonard perspective because he's not Kawhi. You get it now? So again, this whole fiasco about Paul George needs to be defending Luka Doncic. No! Paul George needs to assist Kawhi in defending Luka Doncic. That needs to be what needs to be talked about. Not Paul George needs to defend Luka Doncic. Paul George, once again, needs to assist Kawhi Leonard, the leader of the team, the anchor on both the offensive and defensive side of the team, to guard Luka Doncic. Isn't Kawhi Leonard a two-time Defensive Player of the Year award recipient? So the buck stops with him. So all of this nonsense about Paul George need to do this, Paul George need to do that. No, it starts with the leader and it ends with the leader. Anyone that understands leadership knows this. Let me say it again. It starts with the leader, it ends with the leader. Anyone that understands leadership knows this. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat truth-telling fashion. I keeps the foot on the what? On the X. I keeps the foot on the what? On the X. Kendrick Perkins, and all of you Rudy Poo and you Plum Braids and you classic dogs and you troglodytes and you ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric that's putting it on Paul George as opposed to putting it where it belongs, Kawhi Leonard, a double. Go sit down somewhere and what? Higgity fucking hush. This is Hinos Sport. Checking out.